Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chasing the Wind with a review of the X5C, the Syma X5C. I've had this quadcopter for probably a couple of months now, and I think it's a great beginner's quadcopter. It's extremely stable, but I think for intermediates and above, you're going to get bored with this quadcopter very fast. It's pretty anemic, and the range is only about 25 yards or 70-75 feet. So I'm going to take it out. I'll show you how steady it is. We have about a 5-knot wind here today, and so it's going to get pushed around a little bit. It does not have a lot of power, and again, with the anemic range on it, and I've actually extended the antenna. There is nothing in this when you buy it, and I actually took the controller apart and then put a longer antenna at the right wavelength on it to get it extended out to about 75 feet. So enough talking, let's go for a flight. And I have it in high rate since it's windy. This is a quadcopter you don't want to get going really fast, because it has a lot of drift on it when you turn it. But it is a very stable quadcopter, which I'm going to bring it down here and hover it, and even in this wind, you'll see. Alright. Let me try to get it to work and hover on its own. Well, a lot of wind blowing, but you can see it's a fairly stable quadcopter for the beginner. Pretty predictable, it's not going anywhere. And if there wasn't wind, it would just pretty much set in place. I'll do some pirouettes. That's high rate, nothing to write home about. And the lights are backwards on it. It's got kind of green lights in the back, which I think should be in the front. Orange or reddish lights in the front, which should be in the back. It's not a great night flyer. Again, the only reason I would recommend this quadcopter would be for the beginner. I'll do some funnels with it. You can see they're pretty big. They're okay. Yep. Almost got myself in trouble being around that tree, and it doesn't have the power or the maneuverability to get yourself out of trouble. Sudden, it's probably doubled. You can see that tree there. Bring it down a little bit lower. Try to reduce some of that wind effect on it. But if you're just learning to fly a quadcopter, this one will take a moderate amount of abuse. I've crashed it a bunch of times. I did burn one of the motors out by hitting the props hard on the ground, but it was fairly easy to replace and fairly inexpensive. It did require some soldering, so you'll have to have some basic soldering experience. But if you're going to get into this hobby, you're going to need to learn how to do some basic soldering, or you're going to be throwing a lot of quadcopters away. So you can get some, there's a lot of YouTube videos on it, and I sort of taught myself by watching the YouTube videos. But it's no biggie, it's not that difficult to learn to solder these things. And it gives you a sense of accomplishment once you do it. Again, I would recommend this for the beginner just because of how stable it is. I'm actually teaching my two sons to fly right now, and I bought the CG-023, which is a fantastic quadcopter. They're smaller than this, takes a lot of abuse, but man, what value for the money for $23. And then I'm using this one as the next bigger size up, and this was actually more stable than the CG-023 as far as learning to hover, so that's what I'm helping them with. So this video is really for the beginner to decide whether or not this would be a good platform for you to learn to fly with. And right now, again, I've got a decent wind blowing at me. Here, I'll let the wind push it back. I give it just a little bit of pitch forward. Bring it over. And pretty much flying it with one hand. Gonna give it a little more power. Do it again, one hand. And you can see it's pretty stable. I'm not having to do much with it, and I got a wind pushing it. So I'll bring it down a little bit. Don't want this one getting too far away from you because of the radio range on it. So this is one you just take out here, and you know, as a beginner, you're going to learn to hover. You'll sit there and face it away from you. Get your hovering down. Oh, there goes the batteries on it. So that's about what you get, maybe 5 minutes of flight time, but it's a good one to learn to hover. Out, back, left and right, and then start doing turns and learn how to fly face into you, or head in, I think that's what they call it. And fairly hard plastic. The props are inexpensive, the motors are inexpensive, they're fairly easy to replace. So if you decide you want a good stable beginner's quadcopter, this is one that I would highly recommend. But for the intermediate and above, save your money and get something better, because you're going to get bored with this almost immediately. So this is Chasing the Wind with another video, and I hope you're enjoying the videos I'm putting out. I've got more to come with different quadcopters. I actually got the unique Q500 delivered yesterday, and I'll be making a video on that this weekend. Take care.